Ladies and gentlemen, sit down for a second. Alright, I don't care if you're scrolling on Instagram, lying in bed, or riding a taxi with somebody's elbow in your ribs. Give me the next few minutes because they're gonna be worthwhile. Before you judge me for what I'm about to say, I want to talk about something no one ever wants to say out loud, even when they're thinking it, even when it sits in the back of every conversation like an awkward cousin at a family wedding. South Africa is a nation with a dad-shaped hole, a gigantic echoing pothole-sized absence where real, present, accountable fathers are supposed to be. And yeah, I timed this on purpose. I didn't drop this on Father's Day itself. I waited. Because everyone's timeline on Father's Day is one giant digital photo frame. People posting selfies with their dads, uncles, grandfathers, stepdads, teachers, mentors. People writing paragraphs that start with, "You were tough on me, but you made me who I am." People hashtagging best dad ever under pictures of braais and fishing trips. Good vibes, lots of love. But you want to know what happens the next morning? The algorithm moves on, and if you look really close, like really close, the way I look at it, you see way more silence than celebration. Because for every post about the best dad ever, there's someone out there scrolling with wet eyes, thinking, must be nice. Or someone shrugging it off because there was no father figure in their house to photograph them in the first place. Let alone photograph. Now we hit Youth Day. But let's be honest, half the country only noticed the public holiday part. They were lining up for cheap specials, looking for ride-share discounts, or just enjoying that sweet feeling of switching off an alarm clock. You ask an average teenager what the 16th of June means, you'll get blank stares. Maybe one kid will say, "It's something about Soweto, right?" Cool. They might even remember a textbook phrase about language policies and students uprising or something. But the emotional punch of Hector Peterson bleeding in the street, the sheer courage of kids who refused to be railroaded into second-class thinking, most of that is beneath Netflix recommendations and endless WhatsApp voice notes and forwarded messages because it doesn't sell. So we just collided two big days, one about fathers, one about youth. The overlap is brutal. Father's Day reminds us how many houses echo empty where a father's laughter or discipline should be. Youth Day reminds us how high the cost is when young people inherit a country with no meaningful guidance. This is why the Summer Sambit is talking now. Because the gap between those 2 days is the distance between who we are and who we could be. And maybe if we're bold, we can close it. Or at least start admitting it's not even closed yet. But that's not the loneliest soundtrack. Here's the loneliest soundtrack. But I need to paint you a picture. It's 5:30 on a winter morning in Deep Sloot. You're 10 years old. You wake up because the neighbor's alarm went off way too early, and now the dogs are barking at the noon and the chicken is cockadoodling for some strange reason. Your mom's already boiling water in the kitchen. There's an old rugby jacket on the chair. That's your school uniform jacket, second hand from a cousin who grew out of it. You look around the shack. Zinc walls are sweating from the cold. Two brothers still snorting under a patched duvet. No dad. There hasn't been one since you can remember. Maybe he's across the province with the new family. As if he gives a flying ham sandwich. Maybe he visits once a year, bringing Easter sweets that melt in the sun. Maybe he's a name no one says. Maybe you never got told he existed. Whatever the story, the empty space is louder than the dogs outside. You know what I'm saying? Now hit fast forward to that same kid at 15. Puberty started punching him in the throat. He's taller, he's angrier, he's tougher, he's searching for gravity in a world that sells quick highs. Mom is working double shifts, boiling water in the dark. And here comes the local older dude who hangs at the corner spaza with a shiny phone and louder promises. "Bro, you want data? You want new sneakers? Roll with me then." That guy's voice is deep, right? Not as deep as mine, of course. He's confident, he's making jokes, respect, easy money, and for the first time, that teenager feels like he actually means something to a male figure. And what does he do? He rolls with him, without keeping his eye open for the cops. That fatherlessness vacuum is filled right there with poison. Because this isn't one story, it's a story of thousands. Every township, every rural patch, different faces, same script. Missing dads create gravitational pull, and something good or bad rushes in to fill it. Some kids get lucky, a soccer coach, a youth pastor, a strict grandpa who still plants maize by moonlight. But so many don't. They get whoever shouts the loudest, whoever flashes the brightest cash, whoever sells the easiest dream to them. That vacuum is why gangs recruit faster than schools retain. It's why addiction wraps around teenage souls like barbed wire. It's why anxiety feels normal to a 13-year-old who should be daydreaming about future careers, not future funerals. That's the fatherless economy for you. We like to talk about unemployment numbers, GDP percentages, femicides, load shedding. But there's another invisible matrix nobody prints on newspaper covers or posts on Twitter. Fatherless households. It's not just an emotional deficit. It's an economic one. A dad missing means one less breadwinner. You need to understand that. No school fees getting paid, no role model telling you that maybe TikTok fame isn't a retirement plan. Multiply that by millions and you get a national workforce short-circuited before it starts. When government rolls out the 350 Rand grant, it's not just poverty relief, it's substitute fathering. That grant becomes the monthly dad that buys bread, and hey, safety nets are necessary, but they can't hug when you're crying in the dark. You know what I'm saying? They can't show you how to shave, how to budget, how to apologize like a man when you're wrong, how to respect a woman. Money can't mentor, politicians can't parent, so that father-shaped hole eats more than just feelings. It eats potential, productivity, and possibility. Youth Day without fathers is like a sports day without coaches. All hype, no technique. Kids run fast in random directions. They trip over each other. They laugh, they bleed, they keep running. But nobody's genuinely timing laps. Nobody is correcting posture. Nobody is explaining how to breathe through a stitch so you don't collapse halfway. When the whistle blows, half the kids wander home, not sure if they've won or lost in the first place. And in South Africa, wander home sometimes means walking back into a shack where mama's crying over there, over empty cupboards, but she doesn't want to show you she's crying, and the night's only plan is to pray Eskom doesn't cut the power out before you finish your homework and the boiled water cools. So here's the comedic tragedy. We have these days of remembrance, right? Father's Day, Youth Day, Women's Day, Heritage Day. There's even a Pride Month now. Blech. Stacked like reminders that we once cared about deeper things, but the repetition turned them into background noise. Firecrackers on New Year's, that's cool. Shout out. Braai smoke on Heritage Day, yummy. But do public holidays move the national heart anymore? Or are they just calendar potholes where productivity falls in and people on shift work still punch the clock because bills don't care about public sentiment, right? Are public holidays still there with that deeper meaning? Or do people just love public holidays now because it's just that one day off of work? I'll give you an example. Sometimes the teacher doesn't even get to that chapter before term end. What chapters am I talking about? I'm talking about the chapters that make the youth learn about these public holidays. Does any teenager watching this know about the 16th of June? What actually happened in Soweto? The youth uprising? You probably don't. And Father's Day, now that's less about reflection, more about catching a half-price brunch if you can afford it. Meanwhile, hundreds of thousands of scroll past influencer ads about gift ideas for dad and think gift? I wish he was even on WhatsApp. You know, dropping laughing emojis and then avoiding the phone calls with their moms who might ask, did you message your father? The silence sits heavy like fog, in case you didn't know. I'm not saying there's no balanced families in South Africa. What I am saying is that you're more likely to find a fatherless child than a child with both parents in the picture nowadays. Nowadays, we get leaders who treat podiums like karaoke stands and promises like confetti. They show up after floods, deliver sympathy speeches, pledge temporary housing in 30 days, 50 times in 10 years, and then vanish in blue light blur. That's the national version of a dad who buys you ice cream after missing every birthday party. That's a nice gesture, but no trust earned. In fact, it's more eyebrow raising for the kid. It's like that awkward conversation you have with a friend. Oh my gosh, you're pregnant? Ooh, who's the dad? Oh. I mean, fatherhood means staying, even though the mess is not cleared, right? It's rolling up your sleeves, right? It means tough love. saying we failed you on live TV, or saying I failed you to your kid, and then doing something about it, right? That's a real dad. Speeches are easy. Delivering is hard. We can get bedtime stories, but the crowd literally sleeps every time the president gives a speech because we've heard it all before. The speech becomes white noise, background static to a daily struggle of surviving, right? You don't want to create that silent ripple. You want to do something about it. What happens inside a fatherless kid when they watch a convoy of leaders drive away? They internalize a lesson. People in charge leave, so don't rely on them. That is both bitter and empowering, and here's why. Bitter because trust erodes, empowering because some kids become doggedly independent, right? They start hustles, side jobs, YouTube channels, community gardens. But without guidance, independence can mutate into isolation, anxiety, and overwork. A father's steady voice helps balance ambition with rest, risk, and wisdom. Without that, the pendulum swings wild. Some kids will say, fine, I'll be my own dad. And then they grow into unstoppable entrepreneurs or activists. But many fall into that gravitational black hole I mentioned earlier. They find father figures in crime bosses, manipulative relationships, oh yes, or older friends who have zero intention of nurturing but every intention of using them to the bone. We need to stop romanticizing survival. We love survival stories. We always brag about kids who grew up with nothing, ended up as CEOs, grew up in the streets with single parent homes. But for every one success story, there are hundreds of others that get swallowed by poverty, depression, and jail cells. Celebrating the exceptions while ignoring the majority rule is like handing out umbrellas in a hurricane and calling it disaster relief. It's not weakness to say I needed a father. That's honesty. Stop making it sound like a weakness. And honesty is where real rebuilding starts. So when I say Happy Father's Day to a fatherless South Africa, I'm not mocking dads who showed up. I'm highlighting a wound we keep applying memes instead of medicine. Youth Day, Father's Day, same sentence. What if Youth Day became a nationwide fatherhood pledge? Imagine communities spending 16th of June not skipping class but pairing at-risk teens with vetted mentors. Pilot programs do this in small pockets. Saturday soccer with accountability talks, barbershop book clubs, coding boot camps with volunteer dads, teaching logic and self-discipline. Think about that. But those pockets are scattered, underfunded, overshadowed by influencer events sponsored by energy drink brands like Prime and Mo Fire. What if Father's Day advertising shifted from buy dad a drill set to be a father this year? To all the fathers out there, call your kids, right? Try and talk about that divorce. Talk about that kid who ran away from home. Instead of highlighting celebrities more than we highlight steady men who quietly carry families, why don't we do that for once? You can't become what you never see. I'm not naive when I say this. You can't manifest a father out of thin air. Some men are gone forever, lost to mines, violence, other countries, or their own demons. But we can multiply the father energy that's still here. You know what I'm saying? Number one, like mentorship signing days, like blood drives, but for guidance. Sports halls are open. Men signing up for mentoring 2 teenagers for a year, for example. Weekly check-ins, monthly meetups, emergency availability, volunteer. I'm not saying they must force you. Number 2, skill swap Saturdays, carpentry, coding, cooking. Men teaching life skills with talking about resilience. Young women invited too because some of them also don't have father figures. They need father figures for their sons, their daughters, just as much as being shown healthy masculinity themselves, right? Number 3, public accountability. Every municipality posts a fatherhood index, number of active mentors, dropout rate shifts, teenage pregnancy shifts. Make data a mirror for this so that it can help you. It's simple math. 1,000 committed men in each district, pardon my Greece, could change the direction of tens of thousands of children, boys and girls. Multiply that across the country and watch prison stats wobble, addiction numbers slide, GDP notch up, because a motivated, skilled youth workforce is literal economic fuel. But first, to fix a problem, you must acknowledge there's a problem. We need to own the gap. Stop glossing it and meat-riding it with #blessed posts. Admit that fatherlessness is a crisis in South Africa. That doesn't mean demonizing every single mother, because they are heroes. but it refuses to normalize absent fathers. Fathers' wounds are not healed by ignoring them. They are healed by confronting them, crying about them, and then building structures so that the next generation doesn't inherit the same emptiness. You see, the thing is, it's not that I was fatherless, right? I had a dad. He was awesome. But I can't be in a situation where the situation could have changed if he wasn't in the picture. You know what I'm saying? What we need to do is we need to have a deep talk with our young people in this nation. We live in an age where our youth feel oppressed. They don't feel important at all. They feel completely irrelevant in today's mainstream media. And as long as they'll keep remaining irrelevant and keep feeling irrelevant, the same thing will keep on happening. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. If we don't talk to our young people, how the heck do we expect a different result when it's their turn to be parents? How do we expect that little boy down the street to also not be a deadbeat dad when his dad was a deadbeat and he had no one to learn from? Let that phrase sting a little. Let it sit under your skin. And then ask yourself this: what can I personally do about it? If you're a man who's present, widen your circle. If you're a mom holding it down alone, you have my support, and demand accountability from the father or from community structures. Sue him if you must. If you're a young person who grew up without a father, don't drown it in self-pity. Seek mentors. Challenge men in your community to show up. And when you're older, refuse to repeat the cycle, because you're much better than him. Fatherlessness isn't destiny, but ignoring it might as well be. Youth Day and Father's Day collide like two trains, each carrying a cargo of lost potential and unspoken pain. We can keep watching the wreck from a safe distance, posting memes about it all day, even though nobody cares. Or we can scramble down the embankment, lift survivors, and start rebuilding track. Your move, South Africa. Mine too. All of ours. Because the next flood of silence will drown more than houses. It will drown futures. And I'd rather be known as the generation that patched the roof than the one that kept playing under the leak, pretending the rain was just another soundtrack. So to every father present watching this, keep fathering. Not just your blood, but your neighborhood. To that kid down the street, to every father absent, to every father absent, it's never too late to pick up that phone. And it's never too awkward to talk to your child. It's never too late or too early. Because at some point, that kid out there will start asking questions to the biological mother. Let's turn Father's Day from a calendar note into a call to action. We need to turn Youth Day from a forgotten footnote into an annual audit on how we're raising the next generation. And maybe, just maybe, in 10 years we'll laugh at how obvious it seems that you can't build a nation on empty homes and absentee leadership. Until then, stay vigilant, stay loud, and stay loving. And remember, sometimes the most rebellious thing you can do is be the father you never had, or the father your nation still needs. This is the Sambit, and like always, I'll see you next time. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter.